Hello everyone, welcome to MinseyCrafts. I am Minna and I am your host on this channel. I come to you from my knitting nook in the northeast of England. This is a crafting channel and where I primarily will be sharing with you my knitting and crochet project works. I sometimes also dabble in some other creative things, but not quite as often. And I would also like to point out at this stage that I am not sponsored by any of the brands that I will be talking about here. In today's episode 1, I will be telling you about new knitting projects that I started a few days ago, and I'll show you, so it is this Ray pattern by West Yorkshire Spinners. It is a hat and a snood, and so it's called Cabled Accessory Set, designed by Chloe Elizabeth Birch. It's the thing that drew me to this is the kind of a thick, warm, squishy feel that I get from this looking at this pattern. And I was at my local yarn shop and found the yarn first, essentially, and then they showed me this pattern, and I kind of wanted to try the yarn to knit with it, and I don't knit very often with this kind of a thicker yarn. And this pattern is not a free pattern, unfortunately, and you can buy it on West Yorkshire Spinners website. It's £3.50 today, and this pattern has been created for the Retreat Super Chunky rowing yarn, and I will show you. So I bought 2 balls of yarn. This is going to be for the hat, and for the snood initially I thought that I will only make the hat, and then I decided that, well, I will make the whole set. So I went back and I got a second ball of yarn. However, they didn't have this this color at the time, so I then got this red one. So, like I said, this is called Retreat Super Chunky Rowing by West Yorkshire Spinners. It is 100% blue-faced Kerry Hill. So, on their website, they say this is, by the way, £14 per ball, so it's not super cheap. But it says here that it's been spun 100% British wool from a crossbreed of blue-faced Leicester and Kerry Hill. So this is super chunky rowing. It comes in a 200-gram ball, which is 120 meters or 131 yards. So it's 100% wool, and the recommended needle size is 10 millimeters. I'm trying to find for you what the color on this one is called. The red one is called Passion, but it looks like there is no similar sticker on this one that I can find. So I don't even know then what the lot number for this would be, but luckily I probably don't need. On the website, this color is called Imagine. So this is Imagine, and this one is Passion. I had to also look up what the difference between a snood and a cowl was. I was not familiar with the word snood before, and I kind of thought initially that it's a cowl, but then I read the word snood, and what I found out is that so cowl is a very short infinity scarf, essentially, so it just goes around your neck, pulls through the head, and goes around the neck. And a snood is a cross between a scarf and a hood. And I will have to see if this actually will function as a kind of a hooded scarf at the end. I will show you the project in a moment. and I decided to start with the snood first, so that I could get my tension for the hat. And this is because I have knitted many hats before where I had to restart because the tension didn't turn out what I thought it would, even despite making a tension square. And this is how it looks right now, the project. So I started off with a long tail cast on, and something you can see here, I have this threads hanging about. And what happened during this cast on was that I didn't realize, because this is rowing yarn, the twist on the yarn started to unwind, and that made it fragile, and then it broke. So this is something that is good to be aware of if you're using this kind of a rowing yarn. I've not knitted a lot with this kind, so I didn't realize this at the time, unfortunately. So at this point, I was this was my cast on row, and I was just thinking, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do now? Am I just gonna rip it up, start all over again, and see how it works out better, or keep in mind to twist it back then if it looks like it's starting to open up? But then I thought also that, well, 120 meters is not a lot of yarn, so maybe I'll just go ahead and then at the end weave in these ends, and it's probably not gonna even show. Then my original plan was also to make this as a magic loop on a circular needle, and that's another mistake I made here. I did not think about that the pattern. So it called to cast on 82 stitches, and it's purl 2, knit 8, purl 2, and so on. And so you end up with 2 purl stitches at the both ends of the work. And oh, and I should mention that the original pattern calls to knit this as a flat piece and then sew the both ends together at the end. So what this means, that you have 2 purl stitches at the both ends, is at the seam, if I were to do the magic loop method, at the seam you would end up having 4 purl stitches instead of the 2, and so it kind of looks different, and I did not fancy that. I also realized at the point that this yarn is likely the kind that you kind of gotta get right on one go. I imagine it does not do well being ripped up and re-knitted, as I learned on a cast on row. So then I decided that, okay, I'll just knit it flat and sew it together at the end, and I'll live with the seam. And then I've been knitting it. I think I started this now like 3 days ago. I do work full time, so I don't have much time to knit. But one thing I would say about this is maybe because I'm not used to knitting with thicker yarn and big needles like this, I've noticed that it kind of can get a little bit tiresome on my hands and my wrists to knit with this, because it's quite a little bit cumbersome, I would say. But I still think that it's worth for me, because I do quite like this pattern, the cable design, and it feels really nice and soft and warm. Oh, and I did forget to mention that you will need with this an additional tool, a cable needle. This is a kind of cable needle I have had for years and years. I think this is Clover brand, but I do know there's different cable needles, and in the worst case you can just use a double pointed needle as well. And you can see that this is not the right size for this, but it doesn't actually really make a big difference. It's you just pick up the stitches on this, let them hang, knit a couple of stitches, and then knit the stitches from this needle on it again to get the cable. And yeah, it works, I think. So yes, this is the snood. Once this is done, I will make the hat, and hopefully I will have to read the pattern a little bit better for that, so that I can do it in the magic loop, because I really don't like the seam in the hat especially. And so hopefully by next time I will be talking to you, I have this ready, and I can show you the start of my hat. I will also include the links to the West Yorkshire Spinner website in a space below, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon again. Thank you for watching.